calls for the month. That's the largest since I've been here. And normally I would tell you that commercial fire alarms lead the pack when it comes to call volume, but we almost doubled that for service calls. The majority of them being on one particular night, if you guys remember our storm night. So these are for the month of April, by the way. So yeah, so it was an extremely busy April. It just is what it is, right? So, and there were 42 responses for out of town calls. So those are my statistics. And if anybody has anything to questions, let me know.
Seeing no questions, thank you, sir. The building permit report was included in your packet. Any questions can be directed to our town manager, John Schwend. Continuing on, liaison reports, personnel board, Mr. Wall, it looks like there was no meeting. Volunteer firefighter steering committee, Mr. Hart.
There was a meeting. I think we have minutes in the packet, but the highlights were trying to standardize the procedures between the different departments and possibly even the bylaws. Also discussions about equipment and recruiting retention.
Thank you for those highlights. Any questions for Mr. Hart? Seeing none, is there any public comment on public safety? Seeing none, we'll move on to reports of facilities management, staff reports, public works activity. Brad.
Just a couple of things to highlight. We completed the Devlin Park sidewalk and the installation of the wall in the assistant town manager's office. The shed was installed over at the pickleball courts, and street sweeping and sidearm have started. And we're finishing up our 25 basins for the paving program that should be finished here probably within the next 2 weeks.
Great, thank you. When will paving start?
July 5th.
Okay, thank you very
Or
much.
7th.
How long should the paving program take?
Till August 20th, I believe.
And approximately how many miles of roadway are you going to replace?
I'm not sure on the mileage.
Any other questions for Brad? Okay, seeing none. I'd like to thank all three of you gentlemen for taking time out of your evening. As always, it's appreciative. Council has questions at times. We appreciate that opportunity to ask you those with our report. So thank you for all three of you being here.
Thank you.
I like the new get up here.
Little table.
That's cool.
We could do that.
Only one of them's at the table under duress. Okay, I won't tell you which one.
It's always the one you put in the middle. That way you can't get out.
May I say, it's much easier to hear them.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
I was gonna ask if you could hear them okay. Okay, good.
Mr. Casey.
I would like to thank Brad and his team for cleaning up the trees on Brant Trail and for the new signs. They really look sharp. Thank you.
All right, continuing on, liaison reports, environmental advisory committee, Mr. Giorgetti.
New meeting minutes in your packet, and more importantly, we have our chair, Jeff Petro, in the house for a quick statement that we'd like to read.
Please, sir, come forward.
Jeff Petro, Chair of the Environmental Advisory Committee. As we work on a lot of projects and consider new projects, every time that we discuss this, we think about, but what about the deer? What about the deer? You know, what are we going to be able to achieve our objectives with regard to the overpopulation that we all know about? So we thought that we would come up with an official statement, something we could put on record that would really give our position and let you know how we would stand on that issue. So to meet its objectives of furthering the health, safety, welfare, and to preserve and enhance aspects of the character of the town of McCandless, the EAC has worked on several projects that addresses environmental issues in McCandless. The EAC has recognized that a deer overpopulation was inconsistent with its ability to achieve its full objectives. The growing McCandless deer overpopulation has existed for many years and has devastated our natural ecosystem. A deer browse on the small trees, shrubs, and native plants and gardens. Native trees die as deer browse. Native trees die, and what remains are invasive species such as Japanese barberry, Japanese stiltgrass, and tree of heaven. In short, the forest is unable to regenerate, which has long-range effects for our township's natural resources, its parks, and its inhabitants. Since 2021, the EAC has worked with the municipality and suburban whitetail management to secure municipal and residential properties as available tracts of land to reduce and harvest the deer overpopulation. Because this is recognized as an improved project, the EAC tracks the results on a monthly basis. As the EAC continues in its mission to foster rain gardens, enhance parks through trail building, and our current ambitious project of tree restoration and preservation, the reduction and maintenance of the deer overpopulation is an essential foundation to which success will be achievable. With consideration to its mission statement and to meet the EAC's environmental objectives, the EAC is unanimously in favor of and fully supports taking a stronger and more active approach in order to have a significant impact on reducing the deer population.
We thank you. for
And that is unanimous within the committee.
That's great news to hear.
Okay.
We appreciate all that the EAC does, and we appreciate you coming here this evening to let us know that. as
Thank
well.
you.
Thank you.
And one short unrelated anecdote is Jack and I were walking Branch Trail today in Wall Park. And as we're sort of talking about what we can do with it and, how to improve it, we passed two young 12-year-olds and they were on their way to go fishing. They had fishing poles. One actually looked like a young Joe Wall, I must say. With a fishing pole. It's a good story. So Jack said, well, where are you going? He goes, we're walking this trail to go to Potter Park to fish. And we thought that was validation for trail building, for deer management, for park plan, for connectivity. All those things that we're working on and continue to work on felt like those two 12-year-olds gave us the validation that we were on the right track. So
Wonderful news.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Continuing on, Ad hoc Tech Committee, there was no meeting, Mr. Wall. And Ad hoc Stormwater Committee meeting, we actually have one tomorrow. So no meeting for tonight's meeting. Any public comment on facilities management? Seeing none. Reports of the Services Committee, liaison reports, McAllen Township Sanitary Authority, Mr. Casey.
The report's in your packet, and if you have any questions, please direct them to Mr. Hart because he filled in for me.
Seeing no questions. Continuing on liaison reports, McAllen Franklin Park Ambulance Authority, Mr. Casey.
Report's in your packet, and if you have any questions, I'm happy to entertain them.
Seeing none. Northland Public Library Authority, Mr. Giorgetti.
Your meeting minutes, your packet. If you have any questions, please direct them to Mr. Singer because he filled in my place.
I just want to make one statement. I saw the financial statements that were put forth by the library authority, and I was blown away. Really impressed. They really have their house in order. And, if you look at where the trajectory is, I mean, there's no end in sight of what they're going to be able to do.
They were on a very tight ship.
Yeah, and it's no wonder that they're the most popular library in Allegheny County.
They are. And to add on to that, you have this here at your desk. It's the 2024 annual report. And I'll just read this stat real quick, that they circulated in 2024 1,354,536 items, making it the #1 circulator of all libraries in Allegheny County. So it's my favorite stat.
I attended that meeting. They had their audit. Everything looked good. Upcoming events, Children's Gala is, I just saw it on here, September 20th. And to add to the famous, #1 circulator, they also lead in internet usage. That was a discussion about the amount of time used. So it's a big resource for the area. A lot of people do use North End Library to get on a computer, get on the internet and get things done. So all great things. At this time, are there any public comment on services? Seeing none. Moving on, no old business, so we can continue into new business. First action item is Elm Street licensing agreement. Mr. Schwinn, do you want to give us a little synopsis real quick on this?
Certainly, I do. Or either of the Munzhausers here?
Yeah.
Brian? Yeah. I don't know if you'd like to make any statement about this or not, but I can summarize it if you don't want to. Okay. This is This is a licensing agreement to allow that property owner to install sanitary sewer parallel to Elm Street, partially in an improved area and partially in an unimproved area. This is going to allow sanitary sewer service to a lot, which has been in discussion for a number of years. I think that they had letters from Bob Grimm. It had been nearly completed when Brian was here right before he left, and the license agreement was the final step that we needed in order to give them permission to be able to install this. So it's been reviewed by the town solicitor. It'll benefit that property owner, and we recommend that it's approved.
And the sanitary authority is on board with this as well.
Yes, they've seen this. They think they had thought it was approved in the past. So here we are putting it forth in legal format.
Okay, may I have a motion?
I make a motion to approve the Elm Street license agreement for property located on Elm Street, designated as Allegheny County block and lot number 827-R-192 for the installation and maintenance of a sanitary sewer system that will connect the McCandless Township Sanitary Authorities, MTSAs, as further shown on Exhibit 1.
There has been a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Casey. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay. Next item up here is the North Hills COG salt agreement for option year one. This came out of COG. It is our option year one in our agreement. It's basically keeping Borden rock salt. We do have contracts with other vendors. This was negotiated with the entirety of COG. The percentage increase was
They had, Morton had requested a 6% increase, and we have gotten them down to a 3% increase for this option year one. This will be one of 3 different contracts that we enter into for rock salt purchase for the upcoming season. That'll give us flexibility to place orders. We won't end up in a situation where we run out of salt, where we're tied to other municipalities' needs for salt as well. So this is good. We should be involved in this again for another year.
so we need a motion.
Make a motion.
Mr. Hart.
Motion to approve the option year one agreement with Morton Rock Salt as outlined in the articles of agreement for the period September 1, 2025 until August 31, 2026.
There's been a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Second, Mr. Arlo. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next item is a McCandless Adopt a Roadway program. Mr. Schwinn, a little background.
This was an idea that we came up with in order to help, one of the things we hear a lot about are litter along the roadways. What else can we do besides one time a year litter cleanup? And this Adopt a Roadway program was an idea that came out of that. Other towns of similar size in the North Hills have programs that are similar to this. Essentially, a group, whether it's an individual, family, organization, business, can choose to adopt a section of the McCandless roadway. They enter into an agreement where they will pledge to pick up the litter a certain number of times a year. We provide them with certain equipment, gloves, safety vests, bags, et cetera, and give them recognition also. Whether that recognition is in the form of signage that can be placed at either end of where they adopt. And also, the Environmental Advisory Committee looked at this. They thought it would be good to offer them other forms of an incentive also, maybe through social media, print material, et cetera, in order to really encourage this, get the word out that we want residents to take care of the cleanliness of the town.
Just a question, is the EAC going to promote this?
Probably.
Yeah, we can promote it from the administrative side. It'll be part of our public outreach. It'll take a while for the program to gain traction, but I think right away we'll get 1 or 2 businesses or organizations that are already interested.
Then I'll make a motion to approve the McCandless Adopt a Roadway program as outlined in the attached memo dated June 6, 2025.
Second.
There's been a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next up is discussion and potential action concerning a tree harvest waiver request, Ascension Lutheran Church. There's representatives here this evening. If you'd like to please come forward.
I'll introduce myself. My name is Bob Laverick. I'm a consultant forester. I was hired by Ascension to look at their woodlot and look at the health of the trees and deal with these property line tree issues. So any speaking that I would be doing tonight would be on behalf of Ascension.
I'm Michael Fanton. I'm a member of the church council. I spearheaded this project. We've had quite a few trees fall on other people's property, and we're trying to be proactive to prevent that from our neighbors. We also have had trees fall on our property. The church doesn't have the resources to continue to remove these trees. So we consulted with Bob to help us minimize our expenses for this tree removal.
I'm Pastor Adam Thompson. I'm the pastor at Ascension Lutheran Church, and I'm here supporting my congregation's motion for this timber harvesting project. So thanks for having us.
I wasn't sure whether, so since the motion is to the two items that we were seeking a waiver on, is there a question and answer, or should I
Sure,
speak as to how? what we're looking
Let's
for?
address each one independently.
Okay.
I think the first one,
If you could, please start with an overview of the project, how you ended up where you are,
Okay,
what your overall plan is, and then let's address the two waivers that you're going to request individually.
okay, very good, very good. I'll keep this as brief as I can. I was contacted by the church because they said that they had some, over the years, they've had trees fall on neighbors' property. They've got their woodlot is full of a lot of large trees. They wanted to see what they could do to take care of this. So whenever I went down to the property, I looked, and there is a lot of overmature trees on the property close to the boundary line, threatening other properties. In discussions with them, I had said that this is an expensive project to deal with. There was essentially 9 trees identified that were felling hazards, immediate felling hazards. I could see that there was other ones that would be problems in years to come, but those 9 were the initial ones. I let the church know that this is, I'm sorry. I let the church know that this is going to be an expensive project. Threw out a rough numbers, maybe $15,000 to take care of this. And they'd asked me if there were any other options. And in reviewing, when I was down there, I went ahead and just looked through the whole woodlot. And there's 65 trees in this woodlot that are larger than 18 inches or larger. And I numbered them. And out of those 50, I found severe problems with, whether they were hollow, overmature, dead, broken tops, half of their tops broken out, leaning, whatever the case may be. This woodlot is extremely overmature, as much of the woodlots in this area are, as they've grown for probably 60 to 80 years without any timber harvesting. So you end up with this overmature woodlot. As part of that, I threw out the option that, hey, there's a possibility in trying to take care of some of these trees. Some of these trees are half good. Some of them have a bad butt, which is the lower part of the log. But the upper portion is still good. And what I'd thrown out was there's a possibility if you come in and harvest the trees that are a problem, you might be able to generate enough revenue to take care to solve the issue of the problem trees that are leaning out over into other people's property. And so we decided to pursue that option, and it was tough trying to find a contractor, but I did find a contractor that would be willing to take this project on basically on a 50-50 basis. He'd be willing to harvest the trees, get whatever he can out of them, take care of the property line trees, clean up as per required, and then take that material to his sawmill, have it sawn up, and whatever he makes on it, split with the church as a way to cover cost. There may not be any revenue generated from this harvest because of the high costs of doing it. However, that was an option that was laid out feasible as to get this project taken care of. So basically that's what we were here for today. That's really what brings us here. And I moved forward on that project by preparing a logging plan that I submitted with the township with a few waivers, which brings us to the situation that we are here now. So that's kind of what brought us here.
Thank you.
What about a replanting?
So there isn't a replanting plan planned for the woodlot right now. There can be. This woodlot is about a 3-acre woodlot that is surrounded by a bunch of houses. And as the EAC committee just mentioned, the deer problem in this area is tremendous. There's nothing on the understory of this forest floor. There are overmature trees and there's invasive grasses underneath it. That's all that's there. The hope was that when you take these trees out of there, and I've been very clear with the township and the church itself, removing that many trees from this woodlot, it's not going to look good. There is no way to do that harvest and make it look good. That's what's going to happen to that woodlot over time as these trees continue to fall on other people's property and continue. So that it's going to happen. There is no woodlot regenerating at this point. The idea was to open up the canopy by removing these trees as part of the woodlot, see what kind of regeneration, what kind of natural regeneration we can get. There's going to be a lot of treetops in there. So in some ways that will protect the young growth if we have any and try to stimulate as much native regeneration as we can. That's the standard way that any northeastern woodlot would be managed. We don't manage woodlots in Western Pennsylvania or anywhere by planting. Those would be softwood woodlots, things like that. All of our woodlots that get harvested, they regenerate by natural regeneration. So if 2 years went by and we see no regeneration, the church had talked about then going into a planting plan to try to stimulate some regeneration, get some native trees going in the areas that there are no trees.
What's the church's long-term plan with the parcel of property? Is there any future development to be had here? Any thoughts about this?
We had talked about making it somewhat of a nature trail, possibly putting a pavilion down there for us to have picnics. I mean, you know, there's been a lot of talk. I mean, the woods are not usable. I mean, and you know, we have talked about doing those kinds of things. You know, nature trails, which the gentleman spoke of here tonight. You know, trying to solve a problem as cost effectively as possible. We have solicited neighbors that are affected by this harvest, and we've identified 4 individuals and a 5th individual, and we have had them sign off on the waiver. We have 3 of them of the 5. So one of the neighbors put us on notice that a tree is falling close to her property. She's had one last summer fall on her property, and she's putting us on notice that we're going to be responsible for that. And you know what Bob spoke of, we solicited bids to get some of these trees removed. We had prices from $19,000 to $45,000, and we're a small church and we don't have a lot of money. So we're trying to be good neighbors and also facilitate an area that, you know, the church and the community can be a part of.
Has anybody discussed, because as we go through things here in the town, people within a half mile are impacted. Okay? Has anybody talked to, I mean, you talked about 4 or 5 neighbors. A lot more neighbors that would be impacted. Up to and including, you know.
Not really, because our property aligns with a baseball field, and I'm sorry, I'm not sure of the Vincention. Yeah, so our property in the back kind of like adjoins a baseball field. I mean,
but I guess where I was going with this was property values. When you do something like that, and you go in and you do forestry the way that you're talking about, I have to believe that it actually harms the property values of those properties around.
We have a property owner here. What's your thoughts on that, Rose?
Yeah, so I've actually been in the property that the tree fell on 4 times on my fence. I've had to pay $1,000 deductible 4 times to get my fence fixed and the tree removed. So I'm a very interested party in this because from my perspective, my property values are going down. If that oak tree falls and hits me, I'm gonna die. There's really only 4 or 5 properties that are wood line. The other side is the Ascension Old High School and then the baseball field as well. And I think if you're looking at replanting, I'm sure Tree Pittsburgh would be willing to be a part of that.
And the church would be willing to be a part of that also. I mean, we're not looking to, you know, devastate the forests. We're just trying to come up with, a good way of fixing a problem.
Look, I'm not gonna disagree with you. However, we put ordinances in place. If we allow, and I'm probably speaking out of turn here, but I'm gonna go out on a limb. If
On a
we-
limb? On a limb, John?
No pun intended.
Before you go down there, hold on. Let me ask a question. You're proposing, but it's basically asking one of the waivers is for harvesting operations of 60% of the mature woodlands. Our ordinance says 40%. So we're talking about a 20% difference on this. Now, understand I'm not a forester, I'm not a timber harvester. But few things stood out while you were talking about a 50-50 cost revenue share, basically, once you harvest and send to mill. Is there not a way to determine now what that cost is roughly? I mean, are we at the point that your timber harvester has to take 60% based upon today's numbers? Has this already been valued through? Or
So no, nothing has been done so far from a financial motive.
okay,
I probably could come up with some kind of a value, but it'd be highly variable. Some of these trees, as I said, they're only 50%
well,
good.
if it's so highly variable, how can we land on a 60% number then? That's what I'm saying. If it's this much variable, how do we know it's 40 to 60 to 80 to 100 to hit the number of what's profitable to offset the cost?
Okay, so you're asking if I arrange, I guess I don't understand your question. You're asking
Why
if we went for
60%?
the 60% to achieve a value that would make this
Yes.
worthwhile? No. So no, that's all the trees I want to remove from this woodlot that I have identified. I'm doing this woodlot from a forestry standpoint, not
So
that's.
the
these trees-
60% represents dead trees or it represents live trees then?
There are some dead trees in there. I could give you a breakdown of the dead and live. I don't have it here, but no, out of the 65 trees that are you familiar with 18-inch breast height? So that's a tree that's about this big around at chest high. So there are other trees in the woodlot, but I just didn't feel that anything below that was worth assessing. Some of them are included in that mature tree value for the total number of trees on the property, but the 60%, those number of trees that I chose are totally based on the viability of the tree itself, if it would make it another 5 years.
Correct me if I'm wrong, our ordinance is based upon live trees, correct? I'm just a little, we're throwing out the 60%, the 40% issue is based on live. I believe dead doesn't count
You can
towards
remove
this.
as many dead trees as you want to.
So that's my problem. You're asking for a waiver request, but that's not based on all live trees then you're saying some of the dead trees are in there? Or is the 60% all live trees?
No, some of those trees that I included in this removal are dead.
So then that percentage is inaccurate.
It could be lower, yes, if that's the case.
Okay, I think I need to know a more specific number, especially if we're gonna grant a waiver.
Okay.
Because if you come back and tell me that that's actually 40%, no waiver is required.
Yeah, it's not gonna be, I'm just thinking of the numbers. I mean, I'm trying to think below I'd have to get, I think, 15 or 18 trees below that to get.
We don't know, I don't know the
No,
numbers,
I
I
mean,
don't
I
have
can
that
do
in
that,
front
that's
of me,
fine,
but
but-
I would sure like to make sure that's accurate of,
Okay, that's.
what you're asking for is accurate to what it is, both for public consumption and for us at council.
Okay,
We want to make sure those numbers accurately reflect what our ordinances say of
Okay.
that, so we're talking apples to apples.
okay, but I will say too, if I could say, is that line in that ordinance is ambiguous. It did not state whether live or dead, and it doesn't really speak to any kind of forestry. I mean, it says percent, but it doesn't even really say the number of trees. We're assuming that's what it is. But it could be percent of the canopy closure, it could be percent of the board footage, the basal area on the property. That's an open-ended statement from any forester.
Sure.
Will look at it that way.
Okay,
So,
and
but I
by all
can
means,
supply those.
you're more than welcome to work with our town manager, our solicitor on that as well for those questions.
Okay.
But I think just in the explanation I've received with the 60 and the 40, I'd like to know a more accurate number of what that is
Okay.
for me on that.
Sarah, he's been trying to work with you folks since November. We've been for 7 months now.
Ma'am, I could tell you, I've been on council for a year and a half, and This is the first time that I've met this gentleman.
We've been trying to correspond with John's.
I filled them in on the backstory of the communications with RJ and how we got in touch earlier in this year.
Okay, so I mean, we've been in touch for a long period of time.
Sure, and understand these are waivers. I mean, we have an ordinance, we could simply say you have to follow that, so understand, we want to have these questions answered. We've had public comment this evening already for this. We want to make sure we do our due diligence. Unfortunately, your time frame doesn't necessarily have to meet our time frame of what our ordinance says. Now, we're going to work in the best of our ability to help you and help everyone here as well, but we have to make sure we do our due diligence, much like this problem has persisted for years, it sounds like, until you found someone who is willing to work through this with you. You know the easy solution of $15,000, $19,000 cuts the trees. There's a reason why you're going through this process. There's a reason why we're going through this process. We want to make sure everybody's satisfied at the end of this. So that was my question on the percentages. The other waiver request is basically the treetops, the slashings left within 25 feet of the property line. Was that also addressed with all 5 property owners, or specifically was that addressed that those tree canopy tops will be left within that area?
So what I did was I had a letter prepared, which I have 2 copies here I can give to the council.
Please, by all means, thank you.
These are, and we can send more. We initially contacted 5 neighbors that have, so yes, just speaking to that, we contacted 5 neighbors. It seems that 2 of them are not interested in discussing anything, so therefore not granting a waiver. The other 3 have signed this letter. I prepared that letter. It's a simple letter just stating that really what we're trying to do is look, the township has an ordinance that says no logging debris of any kind can be left within this 25-foot buffer. There's going to be so much material after this. We want to be able to leave some woody debris in there, but it has to be to the understanding. The landowner has to be okay with it. We're not trying to dirty up the woods behind their property, but we're talking about a lot of debris that's going to happen here. We've got this woodlot's about a 2.7 acre woodlot. This 25-foot buffer removes 7/10 of an acre from that woodlot. So you're talking 2.7 acres of treetops has to be shoved together in 2 acres. And these trees are massive. There's also a 4-foot lopping requirement as well, which is, I mean, it's conceivable that this harvest could end up with a solid 4 feet of brush, scattered through that entire 2 acres. Now, from a standpoint of forestry, there's no problem with that. That woodlot will be healthier than heck doing that. And actually, you'll probably get a great chance at regeneration, but it's going to look terrible. And on top of that, we're talking hand moving all of this material because it's going to be on the other side of a fence. And this 25-foot zone is filled with years of logging debris already. I mean, we're going to have to bring that over top of that by hand, move, and we're just looking for a place. Hey, we're not looking to destroy anything or make anybody's backyard look good. We say, look, can we put this log here, put some stuff over here, lop it down? Does that look okay? Just ask the landowner. Does this look okay? Is it safe? That's what we're looking for in this waiver.
From my perspective, as the homeowner was actually the last year ago, I paid for the guy to come up, and I said, just throw it back on the property. It's on mine, on my tree. So there's already within 25 feet.
I think it's important to understand, and everybody's got great points here. Safety is number 1 for our residents. Absolutely number 1. But we create rules. So like Councilman Singer said, we have to do our due diligence. Now, if we don't, then the next guy that comes in, if we're not asking these questions, somebody can come in and say, well, you gave them the permission to take down 40 trees. And, maybe somebody that wants to take down 40 completely healthy trees. We don't want issues. We want to make sure that things are cut and dry. That, the ordinance that has been put in place is adhered to. And if we do need to do a variance, it will come down to the point where everybody needs to understand the reasons why.
Okay. And actually, if I can clarify too, The waiver that we're looking for is actually within the areas of people that we've contacted. Well, there's no problem if we have to adhere to the, if somebody hasn't approved like the two we were looking for, I just want everybody to know it's understood. We're going to move that brush back 25 feet
Okay.
from anybody. We're just looking for these areas. Her properties, Mrs. Ayers, and two other properties by her are the worst for where most of these trees are going to have to come down. So I guess I should clarify that the waiver at this case, we're seeking for that 25-foot zone directly behind their properties.
Okay.
Could I get your name and your address, please, just so I could put it in the notes?
It's on the way, it's on the letter.
Last name is Ayers.
There's three and there's only two talking. I didn't know who was who.
The last name is Ayers, statewide.
Thank you.
8407.
Perfect. And how about the other person who was speaking in the back?
She's just a member of the church.
Okay. Thank you.
Will this kill the stilt grass?
No, it will not. In fact, the stilt grass will probably get worse. The stilt grass is an invasive like I've never seen. We've got many invasives in our woodlot. You'd be surprised to know what a forester thinks of a woodlot driving down the road. But our woodlots are very, very unhealthy due to the deer pressure that was spoken of earlier. But the invasives are going to take off. There's nothing that can be stopped to stop them except for, at this point, herbicide, which I'm not a fan of, or canopy closure. When the trees get mature enough, start to close the canopy, shut off the sunlight to the forest floor. And most of our invasives need 100% sunlight. That's the two ways we can deal with them.
Mr. Singer, I think.
Hold on. Are there any other questions?
I wasn't making a motion.
Okay.
Well, I think we have to question, is there a way to get a assessment of live and dead in this tree?
Oh, sure. I have these trees numbered. They're inventoried. I could
Okay.
go ahead and provide a breakdown.
Could you get that?
I need to know that before I.
And we'll get that, and we'll give you a place to send that.
Which makes me another question.
That's
and
no
I'm-
problem.
And I'm sorry, because I'm just naive to timber harvesting and sales. If we have a lot of the type of tree, the numbers of trees and everything else, is there not a way, I struggle with, we're selling them to offset the cost of doing it. There has to be profitability in your contractor to do this. He's not doing it for zero.
He might be. He's doing this as a favor for the
Okay.
church. My fee is not reflective of my time on this project.
Sure.
This entire project is to help the church and just cover some time. Chris Kurtz knows he could lose on this project. He's willing to take the chance on the remaining quality that is in some of these trees.
And there's no way that they give you can't provide as some sort of estimate to profitability of those. When he bids this, that's not part of this.
There is no bidding. These trees are in such poor shape. We won't know how good they are until they're on the ground. That's where we're at.
Okay.
We just don't know how sound they are. This
Okay.
is assessment. I could have assessed this wrong and 90% of these trees could be junk. And Chris is going to be looking at probably $10,000 upside down expenses. Now, if that happens, I'm probably going to have to help him out personally because I made a mistake. But that's what we're talking about here. This is not a project. I mean, there's a lot of unknowns here. This is a safety project to get these trees taken care of, to stop them from falling on neighbors' properties. And it's even if we take care of the 9, there's a whole stack of ones just waiting to take the place of those 9s. And that's the reason, that I assessed to do the woodlot cleaning and take care of the problem trees. So.
Other questions?
I have
Anyone
a
else on
question
council?
for you. If we would approve this and then rewrite the ordinance, then we wouldn't necessarily be making an exception because the ordinance would change.
There was thoughts to look at this ordinance. Yes, it's coming up, but that's nothing right now. I don't know when that is. So I don't know if I'm comfortable with that. I want to look at what's in front of us right now.
And keep in mind, if we look at this, it's not as a reflection of this percentage or request. It's because this ordinance is a little bit, it could be potentially outdated based on industry standards today. That would be the reason, not to make it easier to
Well,
remove
I
trees.
understand it. Yeah, right. But according to him, it's not real solid. Right.
Any other questions?
I'm good. I'm just in a position where, based upon what I had tonight, there's no way I could vote for this.
Okay.
I mean, we're gonna have
The
to,
next steps that we need to do.
well, I think we've already talked about it. We need to know what the percentages are. And we need to have a more accurate depiction and a what's said to be good and what's said to be bad, because our ordinance does say shed timber. Okay? So that being said, if you're under the 40, it probably wouldn't even have to come in front of council, right?
He'll still have to come in front of council for the other waiver. I think council is requesting of this 60%. What is that actual number of what's dead to what's not dead, live to dead?
That's
Is
no
what we're
problem.
looking for.
I
So-
can't provide, unfortunately, I can't provide that here at the meeting, but I can
Sure,
provide
and
that.
I think we all probably want to table it for tonight's meeting and then reschedule for the following.
I'll make a motion with it.
Okay,
I make a motion to table waiver request number 1 from the requirements outlined in Article 1715, section.
you don't have to go into it, just the tables all's needed for both motion, for both.
I want to table both motions.
There's been a motion to table. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Clunin. All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. You can,
What would be, so if the church would sell the property.
can you come forward just so we can get it on a recording, please? I'm sorry. Thank you.
It's just a hypothetical, actually. Hypothetical question, if the church would decide to sell their property outright to a shopping mall, Giant Eagle, Walmart, whatever, what would be the responsibility for cutting down trees? They still have to get all these waivers to cut down trees to build a shopping mall?
It wouldn't be part of a timber harvest at that point. So it would go through a separate process, was a development plan. So there would be process for buffer yards and all kinds of replantings, kind of kicks it into a whole different area.
Okay.
So
Be
apples
zoned
and
for that.
apples and oranges is
Right.
not the same.
Because like I said, this does
Sure.
affect me, and I'd like to get it cleaned up as soon as possible, because the next wind that comes, that large oak tree is gonna be in my yard and possibly hit my house, because it's that large. So whatever you guys could do to expedite the process, I would greatly appreciate it.
Thank you.
We are doing it. We're trying to work with you. We're trying to work with the church in order to get this done.
So it would probably be up for the next meeting, which would be the last Monday of
June
the month.
23rd.
Great, thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay. Next item up is a motion to resolve pending litigation designated as GT 24-14 608 and 25 CV
So
95.
moved.
You have to say it.
I have to say it.
Yes, please.
Motion to resolve pending litigation designated as GD 24-14608 and 25 CV 95.
There is a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Second, Mr. Giorgetti. All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. At this time, are there any public non-agenda comment items? Seeing none, we do not have an executive session after. We did have that before as a reminder. We just need a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
There's been a motion. Is there a second? Second. Second. All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
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 Motion carries. Thank you, everybody.